people think that health is the absence of a disease, but in reality, health is more, it's living, like Dr. Marvin mentioned, it's living, not existing. And it has to do with many factors. You know, we've talked about nutrition, they've talked about hormonal, about our food, about our endocrine system. And it's so important. And a lot of the times I see people do that all the time. I've been in this whole holistic field for about, I'm going to reveal my age a little bit, but it's almost 22 years at this point of being a holistic physician in functional medicine. And it's really about trying to get homeostasis in the body for the body to be in that balance, you know, and balancing your health, balancing your energy level, your endocrine system, and also, of course, the absence of disease. And one of the missing links has been, you know, I talk with people and they're always talking, well, I do this whole nutrition, I take care of my body, I do exercise, and I seem to not get it. I feel inflamed, I feel inflammation and everything. And one of the most exciting fields when I joined New Age Erics, and you know, there's a whole story behind how I got here, and there's a whole story behind me and Deanna's weird relationship, because we're like friends, buddies, and we're like the lost brother and sister. And I'm the older brother, okay? I'm the older brother. Yes, I know. I always say she's like my big sister, and it's not because she's older, but rather because she's always like correcting me, and I try to behave. And I know it's 9 a.m. for me. It's like 9:15, guys. Let's have a great day. And the missing link would be microbiome. Microbiome is one of the most exciting fields in health, and not just in medicine, and in because when we talked about nutrition, when Dr. Ginger just brilliantly explained the endocrine system, and she mentions diindole methane and the broccoli and everything that you have has an influence in your hormone. Well, guess what? The bacteria, the good bacteria that's in our gut, in our intestinal system, also plays an important role in hormone excretion, hormone recycling, and hormone deactivation. So, and one of the most important fields is when you look at this whole new world of microbiome, is now that we understand that a lot of things that we've done because by thinking we need to kill the germs, we need to sterilize this, we need to clean, bacteria free, destroy the germs, is really creating, or has created, an imbalance in our whole body. Our body is comprised of bacteria. I remember when I was a kid, they would talk about, is there life out there outside of Earth? You know, life on outer space. And one of the interesting things is I never got it when I was a kid, because they were always looking, when they said we're looking for life, it wasn't really that they were looking for some tiger in a distant planet. They were just satisfied with the fact that they could find microorganisms, because that is the basis of the initiation of life. Even our mitochondria, our energy producing organ in our cells, comes from what we would call prokaryotic cells. So we have eukaryotic, which are our human cells, our big cells, and we have prokaryotic, which are bacteria. And the interaction between both is what creates our body. 100 times more DNA in our body is bacterial DNA. So we're probably more microorganisms within our body than our own cells. Now, the question is, how do these influence our health? Do they have an influence on disease? Do they have an influence on health? And what we found is that I put on the screen, this is our first little review article from Portal Biomedical Journal that talks about weight gain, weight loss, control of obesity, metabolic function, and probiotics. So when I reconnected a couple of years back with Deanna, and I saw just how picky she is on ingredients and everything, and our whole optimals and our finale and everything, I thought to myself, this is exactly what I've been looking for in a line. And I've been expecting for years in a previous company. I was pushing and pushing, and the changes weren't being done. And when I saw that Deanna had all this, she just asked me a question. She says, "What would you add or what would you change?" And I said, "You know what? Nothing. This is just perfect. It's beautiful." But the only thing that I said, I think what we need, and one of the things that we most talk about with physicians is we could not find a probiotic on the market that was complete, that had the delivery system, that had everything. And when we talked about the conversation, she says, yes, and I thought she was going to do this. And she wound up saying, okay, so that's your homework, and you get to work on it. And I'm thinking, like, two things, like, this is exciting, but this is scary at the same time. And I said, you know what? I'm more of a physician. I'm really not into the go look for a manufacturer type of thing. She says, I'll take care of that. And voila, right? And when we were discussing the effects, we handpicked each, let's say, every strain. I'm thinking the word cepa. I'm sorry if I think in Spanish sometimes. I'm just a confused being. I think Spanish, I think English, and then, each strain, we wanted to pick a strain because we knew that people needed something as support for weight loss. Lactobacillus plantarum, if you look at Lactobacilli plantarum in weight loss and in metabolic function, these probiotics help us in our weight loss. So this is just an article to show you the study. It's a review article on its effect on weight change for the control of obesity. And what they found is people, when they start shifting their bacterial composition in their intestine, the metabolism starts to kick in. It starts to function. And because bacteria not only eat the food that we eat, but they produce certain fats, certain beneficial fats, certain chemicals that create an interaction in our body. So this is another article more that talks about the same thing. It talks about lactobacillus on body weight, body fat in overweight people. This was from the International Journal of Obesity, published in 2017. So what they're finding is that if you use the right flora shift. Now, why is there a problem? The problem is because from very early age, we're bombarded with antibiotics. And also the other problem is the food that we eat does not promote the growth of the healthy bacteria. So if your food feeds bad bacteria, guess what? Bad bacteria is going to colonize your body. If the food is food for good bacteria, then you will create. I was reading an article from a microbiologist that said, you know what? Potency is important in terms of microbiology or microbiome, but also the variety that has to be varied. And he was talking about having a probiotic that would have at least 10 different strains. Well, guess what? We have 15 different strains, and I won't talk about that because it will take just hours to talk about each strain, but each one is at therapeutic levels. And what happens is if you have the right strain with the right delivery system, every 20 minutes they duplicate. So a lot of times people will tell me, you know what, I took the product and it seems like I felt an effect. How can one capsule create an effect? Is because if you throw in 20 billion, which we really throw in 40 billion colony forming units. So these 40 billion in the right environment will turn into 80 billion, then 160 billion. So every 20 minutes they start reproducing. That's why I'm a big fan of giving greens. And I'm a big fan of what Ginger mentioned is Restorix, or talking about zeolite and talking about chlorella and everything because it cleans out. So this is another example of effect and therapeutic promotion of healthy metabolism, which is getting your weight down. And that will help you just with probiotics. Here's another one that I'm that's talking about. Now, we've heard recently, this has been a few years now, of what we call the gut-brain connection. So part of existing versus living is how you feel, the mood that you're in. And do you feel happy? Do you feel positive? Because a lot of times I get a lot of people that, when they have certain issues, you are the pilot, and the issues or the problems that are presented to you depend a lot on the attitude that you have towards solving them. Now, we know that we're always going to have problems as long as we're alive. But the difference is, what is your attitude and your approach to those problems? And a lot of it has to do with neurotransmitters, serotonin, and how your epinephrine and all the neurotransmitters, your brain chemicals. And what we found out is that your gut, they call it the gut-brain connection, your intestinal system is as complex from a nervous standpoint, from neurons, as your brain. And they produce certain chemicals from that interaction with bugs. So I say you have to have happy bacteria. And this is what we do. We select it. It's like, let's find out. This is like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Do you have grumpy, you have happy, you have sleepy? Well, we selected happy. Happy bacteria that make you happy. That's why we're always smiling. That's why Diana's always like that. When you take a probiotic, we're just smiling like that, and we're happy, and it has to do with I'm happy in the morning. I can't believe this. This is what I did. I took a probiotic. I have it right here with me. It's the first thing that I take, so I'd be in a good mood, right? So this is a study that talks about effect of probiotics on depression, on mood. And again, this is from a review article. I always try to put review articles because what review articles do is they grab all the information from different studies. So you can have an article that's based on a study or a placebo-controlled study or a randomized trial versus articles that actually take information from all the studies and then put them all together and come to a conclusion. So one of the effects is the research, and here on the last part it says, and I'm quoting, it says, we found that probiotics were associated with a significant reduction in depression, underscoring the need for additional researches on this potential preventative strategy for depression. So prevention, an ounce of prevention weighs a lot more than a ton of treatment. And the key is to prevent. It's like, I remember it said 1 ounce of action is far more effective than a ton of knowledge, right? So you have the knowledge now, but it's the action. So prevention is key. Having happy bacteria, happy microorganisms in your gut, because that creates the neurotransmitters for you to be happy. And also, here's another one. It says, probiotic supplementation improves cognitive function and mood with changes in gut microbiota. And this is an older adult. So if you see a crazy old adult smiling, he probably has good probiotics in his system. And this one's also from a multi-center trial. So what they found is that so a lot of the times we need these probiotics to be in our body. So I'm going to put a few more, and then I'll try to explain. So this is what you see here is your actual epithelial barrier. So our gut, and here's the interesting part. When Diana and Ginger and Dr. Ginger mentioned your skin is a carrier, not a barrier. Definitely one of the main exposure, let's say, tissues to the environment is the skin. So we are approximately 60 square feet of skin. We want to be less square feet, but that's on average about 6 square meters of skin. If you were to spread out our skin surface on the environment, is 6 square meters, okay? If you have to spread out our intestinal epithelium from the mouth all the way to the exit, we're talking about 5,000 square feet of exposure. So we have the intestinal lumen, and then we have the villi and the microvilli. So when you take all these microvilli and if you were to flat them out, it's basically the size of a tennis court. And so this is a major exposure for environmental, and we need that barrier also. So it is a carrier, but the bugs are also a filter. So the microbiome in our intestine is a filter, and it is the training center for our immune system. So this is what allows our immune system to function. A little later, Dr. Strand will brilliantly explain about immune system, nutrition, and everything. And it's obvious that so nutrients have a very important aspect and role, and he'll explain it in a few minutes about how they create a strong immune system from an internal. But probiotics are the trainers; they're the coaches that teach our immune system what to attack, how to attack the. So when we have probiotics and commensal bacteria, these create what we call secretory IgA. These create the nutrients for our epithelial cells and our barriers. So they create what we call short chain fatty acids. So prebiotics are the food of our probiotics, and then the postbiotics are the product of it. So these are very important. One thing is that we have prebiotics in our probiotics, and as we do the right nutrients and the right food, the probiotics will act and create this wonderful. So if I were to give now a lot of recommendations, like I get a lot of people text me stuff, and sometimes I want to answer probiotics, and I basically tell them, you know what? I think your kid needs to eat dirt. I remember usually it's the firstborn, then the secondborn, and then the third one. And I remember I saw my dad, when my older brother was born, every time he would drop his bottle, his baby bottle, they would sterilize it, they would boil it, they would throw a bunch of stuff and then just give it back to him, almost wearing gloves, right? And by the time they got the second one, which was me, if I were to drop the bottle, they would just like clean it up and just right back into me, right? And it's like, thank you, Mom. And the result is we wouldn't get as sick. Usually by the third child, you would drop it, you would just like kind of put it in and then put it back into his mouth. We need to eat dirt. And I mentioned that previously, and dirt has to be clean dirt. So what I tell people, you know what, if you here's two options for your disease, because autoimmunity, as well as allergies, as well as mood disorders, obesity, everything has to do with our gut flora. And I say two options. One is you need to eat dirt, but dirt not from most likely where you live. Go up on the mountain, where there's 10,000-year-old bacteria that's not been exposed to antibiotics, that's pure in the dirt, and just go up there, start hiking, and then start eating the dirt. Or another option is just take our probiotic. There's which is probably less expensive, and we've selected it for you to get the right bacteria and the right Saccharomyces boulardii. This is also a probiotic that balances. So our body is the tree, and our gut are the roots that absorb all the nutrients, and that's in the environment. So we get the right fruit, we get the right results, and the fruits are our muscles, our skin, our hair, our eyes, our vision, our immune system. So the first step is, after nutrition and everything, is gut flora. And that's the reason why we developed the probiotic product, because this is like that final link that we need to have this whole complete line of that. If you do this, you will just feel wonderful. You'll be smiling all day, and you won't have to have your face day for gym. It'll just, and your immune system day. So we're adding days to the week. And right back to you, Diana. I hope I was able to sort of just bring out the message that we need to restore our gut.